I bet you didn't know that this village, shrouded in shadow, holds secrets that time itself has forgotten. The air was thick with the scent of burning wood, mingling with the dampness of the earth below. It was a place where time seemed to stand still. A chill wind whistled through the valley, carrying the scent of damp earth and something ancient. The trees swayed and rustled, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to touch the sky. The sun, a pale ghost behind storm clouds, was already sinking towards the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows across the cobblestone streets. The light was fading fast, and with it the last remnants of warmth and safety. It happened in the late 80s. Margaret, Sarah's mother, worked at an architectural firm specializing in the restoration of historic monuments. Her eldest daughter was also a professional artist and restorer. The mother and her daughters had traveled all over the country. One day they found themselves in the south, in an old village with a single main street, a handful of houses, a forest, a river, and a massive ditch left by a dried-up riverbed. Margaret stepped out, her hand tightly clasped around her daughter's. The village, with its crumbling buildings and overgrown paths, seemed to hold secrets in every shadow. 11-year-old Sarah, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement, tugged at her mother's hand, eager to explore. A gnarled hand shot out from a nearby doorway, making Margaret's heart skip a beat. The old woman's eyes locked onto Sarah, sending a shiver down Margaret's spine. "The night here, it has teeth," the old woman's words echoed as the sky darkened. The restoration work was in full swing, and one evening the women returned home very late. The village was quiet and dark, but Sarah was gone. She was not home either. They panicked and began searching, waking the entire village. The locals reluctantly opened their doors, shrugged their shoulders and said, "You were told not to let the child go out after dark." "Look in the ravine," one of the women finally said. Sarah's mother ran to the ravine and, almost blind in the darkness, descended the slope through the bushes, shouting and shining the thin beams of her flashlights. A strange, muffled hissing sound came from below. The sister reached the bottom first and called out to her mother in fear. Two figures of about the same height appeared in the moonlight. Sarah walked quietly and slowly, led by the hand by a short, hunched creature with long arms and crooked legs. The creature looked back at the women and hissed. Its eyes glowed in the light of their flashlights like a cat's, and its long fingers were tightly clutching Sarah's hand. Its skin was a bluish tint with dark veins and spots. Sarah moved without resistance, her head thrown back and her eyes closed. Her mother lunged at her, grabbing Sarah by the arm and pulling her toward her. The creature bared its short, sharp teeth and hissed even more furiously, but it would not let go of the girl. A struggle ensued, the mother pulling the child toward her, while the creature, its strength clearly no match for the furious determination of the enraged mother, slid backwards across the clay floor, but still clung tightly to the poor child. The creature began to growl and grabbed Sarah with both hands. Finally, the mother saw where the creature was dragging its prey. On the opposite side of the dry riverbed, there was an old brick building with a gaping hole. The sister arrived just in time, and together they managed to free the girl and run up the slope away from the ravine. The creature below continued to hiss and whine, sometimes approaching, sometimes retreating in fear. But it did not dare to climb after them, as the men from the village were approaching with torches. They helped the fleeing trio out of the ravine and silently escorted the mother and her daughters back to their house. After that, as if nothing had happened, the villagers quietly went home. In the brightly lit room, Sarah finally came to her senses, quietly sobbing and complaining about the bad sleep. The hand that the creature was holding was covered in blood, with deep cuts that were swollen and incredibly painful. The next morning she was taken to the hospital, where doctors struggled for a long time to save her arm, as the wounds became increasingly inflamed and began to fester. After a long recovery, Sa recovered. The women never returned to that village. If you liked my video, like it and subscribe to my channel.